Well, hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Mott, and today we're going to talk about Power BI and creating engaging visualizations using Power BI. I am a project manager advisor here at DIT for the state of North Carolina. I don't claim to be an expert in Power BI, but I've used it for a few years to help create some dashboards throughout the state. I do like to keep things simple, but at the same time, we like to harness some of the power of Power BI. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. If you can keep your mics on mute, that would be great. And I'd like to thank Jen. She's our moderator, Jen Johnson, our moderator for today. And if we can hold the questions until the end, that'll be great. So if you could just make notes and maybe put it in the chat. I'm going to go take my camera off just for bandwidth's sake, but I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. All right. So today we're going to talk about an overview of Power BI. And we're going to do a demo using some open source data, and maybe we'll find some of this data interesting. And then we're going to talk about all the different types of ways, or some of the types of ways we can bring data into Power BI, but there's an extra special way that we can bring data in using screen scraping on websites for sometimes where you can't bring it in with the natural web model. So we're going to do that as an example today as well. So we know that with Power BI, it's a way to keep things simple, yet create some visualizations to take that data that we have and turn it into information that others can consume at a glance and maybe tell a story with that data. So if you're familiar with Excel and some of the other Microsoft products, you might have an inclination to use Power BI because you feel that you're kind of at home, so to speak. Some people think it's easy, people think it's a little bit more challenging, but you find a tool that's suitable for you. So we're going to talk about the multiple ways you can use visuals and summarize data. Again, we're going to just do an overview because I don't know the level of expertise of everyone on the phone. Some of you probably can teach this session, and some of you may be new to Power BI. So we're going to talk about some of the different data sources. And what I like about Power BI is that I like a lot of different tools, but what I like about Power BI is that you can place your visuals on the canvas with little to no effort. You just kind of drag and drop it and size it and make it fit just where you want it to be without a lot of back and forth. So I do like that part about Power BI. Okay, so these things you may already know, but again, we may have some people that don't know. So some common data sources that you can bring into Power BI are things that we use on a daily basis. So even if it's a flat file, a SQL Server, Oracle, we do a lot with old data feeds, even your SharePoint lists, even your Excel files that you have in SharePoint, your SharePoint folders. If you have data in some type of list, row, column, we can most likely bring it into Power BI. And even if it's not there, you can even bring some PDF documents into Power BI. Of course, Excel, Access, text files, and we're going to talk about a screen scraping example and many other sources. So, of course, Power BI has a get data feature, and then you can see just from the list here of some of the different types of data sources that it can consume. But you have to remember, if it's not a live link, the data is brought into Power BI. So of course, if you wouldn't want to bring maybe like HR data in that you're going to turn around and share with someone that shouldn't have access, because it is brought in, consumed into the Power BI platform. So let's go ahead. And then, of course, once you have your data and you made your charts and you made them look just the way you want, you can publish this, and we talk about that as well, and share it with others. Of course, there are different ways to publish. You can publish it doesn't cost anything to actually download the Power BI software, but that's just your authoring environment where you create your visuals. But once you make them polished and look just the way you want, and you want to share it with others, now they either need a license or you have to share it in a way that is out on the public internet. And that's assuming you have the right security exceptions in place to do so. So you can publish it to others that don't have a license, and you can publish to others that do have a license. But again, those that do not have a license, you need to make sure that you can publish to web. And then also we're talking about when you publish to web, some functions or features don't come over, like ArcGIS for Power BI is not supported on the publish to web platform, but just publish it and see what you get. And if it doesn't show up, then you know it's not supported on publish to web. And again, you can share it with other people in your organization or people that have access into your organization. So you can see with the screenshot on the left, and we'll do this. Once you publish a report, you can say, I want to embed my report. And if you have the rights, you can publish to web. And then, of course, you can also, you see the share button here, you can share it with other people in your organization and even share the data set where they can create their own reports. So this is just an overview. Some of the visualizations are very common in many different tools. Of course, we need slicers to filter. We need some type of bar, column charts, line charts, area charts, ribbon charts. You can see the list of charts that's defaulted over here to the left that you can automatically use in Power BI. And of course, there's a community of developers that have other visuals that you can use for free or at cost. And then, of course, we'll talk about how you can use these 3 dots and go get some others. And here's a few others that we maybe use in today's presentation. Other basic features, what I also like about Power BI, once you publish your data, you can set it up for automatic refresh. Of course, you can manually refresh anytime you like, but if you like to reset it or refresh it every hour during the workday or just before people come in the morning, you can set automatic refreshes to link to your data sources up to 8 times a day. We'll show you a little bit with Power Query, how you can use that, either simple or complex, to transform or modify your data. And what do we mean by modify your data? I mean, sometimes you want, for example, in today's presentation, this is a simple one, but some of the data was all caps, some of it was lowercase, some of it was uppercase, and I didn't want to present it that way. I wanted it all to be proper case or the first letter capped. So, you know, it could do things of that nature for you and do a lot of different things, but that's a simple example. And then, of course, we mentioned that you could share it with others who have Power BI license within your organization or with those who do not have license by using the publish to web feature if you have permissions. And another thing I like about Power BI too is that you can actually display images within your data set. If your images if you have a URL that has your images, you can also use that, and we'll show that to display with your data. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of demos today. So in this demo that we're going to show, here are some of the features that we use. This is just one page of it, but we're going to use food violations, restaurant violations as this data source. It's open data. And so we're going to use something called tree decomposition, something called smart narrative, a couple of custom visuals, show you a simple way of using bookmarks to show hide data. The matrix feature, which I like because you can do a lot of summary. It's like a table. You could do tables with conditional formatting, of course, slicers, and then all those other ones, maps. We have a few of those. And measures in Power BI, those are used for either simple or complex calculations. And then you can either make new columns from the data that exists there. So we made a few columns to hyperlink out to other sources. And then we'll show you that Power Query example for screen scraping. Okay, so this is a demo where we're using open data source for food violations in the Wake County area. Anybody hungry, want to go out to eat tonight? You know what we normally do, we go check TripAdvisor, we check Yelp, we do DoorDash, but do we come first to the data sources that talk about food violations? And so let me give a disclaimer. Even though you may see many, many violations that will open your eyes, you know, it's not, some things are just a one-time event and you should not judge a restaurant by the violations. In this particular example, we have about, these are note cards at the top, just kind of give us a summary that in this data set currently filtered, we have about 3,562 establishments that we have violation data on. And as you can see, there's over 329,000 violations. 122,000 of those are critical, 195 are not critical. and about 11,000 were not marked critical or not critical. So somebody give me a name of a restaurant. Maybe I shouldn't put any restaurant on Front Street because they're all in here. So what we did first is do a ranking. Let me change the ranking a little bit. So if we do a ranking, I'll open up with Power BI, you can open up. You have to take all things into consideration. So although this particular restaurant has 1,975 violations, that is over 6 restaurants and over 170 inspections. All right. So you have to take in things into consideration. And then, of course, these are the critical and the non-critical ones. But we're hungry. Where are we going to go eat tonight? You want some steak? So here, this is a custom visual here to do a search. You could search, I could search for comments if I want comments about people washing their hands or something of that nature, or if I just want to do a search in general. But take it off of Papa John's. So let's say I want some steak tonight. I don't eat steak, but who's got steak in their name? Okay, here's one. All right, so within this data set this top one came back with the most violations for steak. But we're talking about Power BI. We're not talking about violations. So I'm just showing you features. So we can see we can have a custom visual to do searches for either the name of the restaurant or a keyword in the restaurant or something in the comments. Of course, we all expect slicers right now. Do I want food stands, steak food stands, or steak restaurants, or both? And then I use address here just to narrow it down. Sometimes when you get a restaurant that has multiple locations, you may just be interested in a particular one on a particular street. Okay. So here we can see within the rankings that this one had the most. I'm going to maximize this. And this location. So I'm going to just right mouse click and see if I can get some more detail on this. So with Power BI, you can also do a drill through. You can create what you want to come on the drill through page. This particular page, we just have some basic information about the name of the restaurant. This is called a multi-note card because I have a couple of key pieces of information, not just one piece of information in this note card. The one that says 375, this is a single note card because I just have one value here, one measure here. So of these 375 violations for this restaurant, let's sort this by date so I can get maybe the most relevant one first. All right, and so you can kind of mouse over, open up, and I was trying to mouse over to see what the particular issue was. Now, if I look at this particular entry that came back in Power BI, what we're showing you is with this table, you can have what we call conditional formatting for all, your columns that you want. So this was just a conditional formatting for yeses and nos to change the background color. So that's what we're showing here. And then this, of course, let's look at this visualization. If I want to look at what was critical, yes, or critical, no, it looks like for this particular restaurant, a lot of the critical fell in this category: protection from contamination, potentially hazard food time and temperature, chemical, and employee health, and maybe contamination by hands for this particular restaurant. Of course, with Power BI, we can have maps to kind of see where this restaurant is located with tooltips. And this is another feature of Power BI. This is what we call a decomposition tree. There wasn't a lot to decompose here, but we can see for the category here, just kind of showing how many yeses and how many nos and how many undefined. So that's just another, you can do that in a pie chart or bar chart. It's just another visual to kind of show the breakout of critical yes or no's, okay? Let's see, what else can I show on this? Of course, I think I showed you this one. Yeah, the map. So let's go back. Another thing we can do with Power BI, let's look at, I just want to look at this restaurant in particular. So let me just, oh, I actually took that off. So I can, if I click on this restaurant, I can clearly see the trending. So nice little trend charts that over the years, let's see how they're doing over the years. They started in 2012 with this data. And so this is the number of violations. So they started with 14. At some point, it got up to 51, down, and then back up to 56. So it makes you wonder, if it's change in management, COVID, people, not watching, you never know. But that was a trend for violations. But how about the trend for the sanitation scores? So let's see, it started with a 95, got as low as a 82, and corrected things and got back up to a 96. So again, this is just another way of using Power BI to show trends. We have two different trends here, the trends for the sanitation scores, which is a data set. So we have multiple data sets here, open data sets that were keyed together by the restaurant key, obviously key codes. And then, of course, trending. Let's see, anything else we want to show here? And of course, we all expect a pie chart to show us how many yes, criticals, yeses, and nos. But for all the Japanese restaurants that are selected, most of them, well, not Japanese, I'm sorry, steak restaurants, most of them were not critical. Majority, but there are a number of criticals. So if we want to drill down to a particular restaurant, I don't know, I can't see the chat. It doesn't matter. So let me think of a restaurant that I like to go to is
Angus Barn.
Angus Barn. Okay, so let's look at Angus Barn here. Of course, this is the only one back. That's why it has a #1 ranking. The number of violations, yes, no. And they opened in 1991. They've had 20 inspections since that point in time. So again, just to kind of drill down, looks like they're kind of half and half on the critical. Let's see, the number of violations has been as high as 30. And of course, this year it doesn't, 2022, it says it had 9, so that's good. And then let's look at their sanitation score. Right now it's a 97, but it's been as low as looks like a 91. So let's see what type of violations they had. I'm going to right mouse click and drill through. So of the 194 violations, if I look at the categories, this one right here, potentially food hazard. Go back up. So I can just click here on this one. It's interactive. That's a nice thing. And I can see which ones, what some of the violations were. So some cheese spread and loft, reached in cooler and top layers of salmon and highway drawer cooler. It's a little bit more here. You can scroll over. But anyway, the point is just to show Power BI, not necessarily the restaurant, but just using data sources. The nice thing about Power BI, like I said, if you're interested in something, you can just kind of click and it changes the data to reflect what's selected. And then, of course, if I just care about critical, that's what these slicers are used for. So let's go back. And the hyperlinks, so we've created some columns, so to speak, and just to store the hyperlink. So if I was interested in Angus Barn, I would come out here to TripAdvisor. And it found it, and I can go there. So you can use Power BI to hyperlink out to other sources. And speaking of, I didn't mean to close that out. So let's go back. I'm back in the authoring environment. So that's fine. Let's go back to Angus Barnes. But you get to see how it's authored. Okay. Let let's say I was TripAdvisor and then Google Earth if I want to see where it's located. This is just showing you examples how you can link out to different data sources. And there's Angus Barn. And more importantly, I probably care about the inspection report. So let's take a look at it. So this is Wake County, and Wake County has the same information, just doesn't have the graphs and the bars and all that good stuff. But it's the same information you just saw. They have a score of 97, where they're located. I wanted to link directly to the inspection source, but I didn't have that one key that was needed, so I had to link out to their site. That's fine. But here's a copy of the inspection report. Isn't that nice? Good job, Wake County. So we looked at note cards, and then there's another little feature of Power BI. You can have what we call bookmarks to show hide information. So I just kind of set this here for info button. So here's a smart narrative. This is a feature in Power BI where it actually reads the data and kind of give you a narrative. So we're on Angus Barn, so it gave us a narrative about Angus Barn. So it says the sanitation scores trended up on what day? Rising by 52% in 1.75 years. And the number of violations dropped from 20 to 9. And, it gives you more information. So this is nice. And this is called a smart narrative. So it did it on its own. And so I could show or turn off that information using bookmarks. I think that's about all we wanted to kind of show here. We've showed a lot of the different basic charts that you can use in Power BI, how you can hyperlink to different sources, how you can use what we call measures to create rankings and calculations, and the different types of charts. So let me talk about bringing data in from other sources. So I think I have Notepad open. We do this on the fly. So in Power BI, we talked about a lot of different sources that you can use, but how about web? Sometimes there's data on the internet that's in a nice list that you might want to bring in. So if I go back to Power BI, and this is kind of simple here, but I'm going to go to File, Get Data, and I want to get it from the web. And here's my link. And this is a list of business relationship managers in the state. I probably should have took you to that website so you could see it first. So if you see a nice table, why don't you grab it? If you need it as a data source, because you might need to use this for something. We needed to use this source the other day for something in Power BI. So we went out and grabbed it. So when I did that, it says, oh, I see a lot of tables. Is this what you want? Oh man, that looks perfect right there. Look at those names. It found some other things. Nope, that's not what I want. Kind of looks like the same thing. I'll take that too. And of course, I don't want it like this. So you can say that's it. And just click the table and let's load that in. But sometimes data is not so easy to load in like that. So let's look at another data source. Okay, so insulin index chart. It's got a lot of data here. Oh, that looks good to me. What's the difference? Well, I have this image right here. It's not going to bring in that image. This image is a URL. I could do a view source and know that this is coming from another location. But I would like to have this chart or something similar. Say you see something with pictures or with a column and you want that data. So this is a little bit more advanced when you use the Power Query for this source. Because if I try to bring this in, just naturally, It's taking its time. Okay. What did I do? Did I pick the wrong link? I did. So I can see all this. That looks good, doesn't it? But I don't have that image, and I want that image. And that image is a URL. So I can bring in this source, but then I'm gonna have to do some parsing. So since I already did that, so for this, you have to know, if you know HTML a little bit, basically, I love to take credit for you, but I'll tell you the website I got it from. But basically, you have to know HTML and you say, okay, the table ends here, it begins here, it ends here, the row ends here, it begins here, and you kind of extract some data. And so we did that, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so we were able to bring the table in. We can see the image source, but you see all those kind of steps that where we extracted between delimiters here. Yeah, I have to show you this outside of this particular presentation, but you could say, give me the beginning of the table. Let me double click this. See, I wanted the beginning of the href, the end of the href. So you can tell it what you want and it'll extract in between. And so let's see what that looks like. That was just a little advanced using Power Query, but let's just see what that looks like. So if I go to my screen scraping example, we're able to bring it in and look at the image. Power BI does support images. If I look at the data source, I can see the image location, the food, the index, and the source of that index and where it came from. And so here's another visual. This is a visual. Of course, this is using the HTML, the location inside of a table. You can do that. And this is a special visual I brought in just to show an image. But I just did this one just to show you can do things in Power Query to screen scrape and get data from tables that have images as well. Once you do what you want to do, of course, you publish it and then you share it with others. Publish is going to take a minute here. So I'm going to go back. So assuming it's already published, again, you can go to File, Embed Report, and you can publish it to the web. So if I publish this to the web right now, if I put this link in the chat, you all can use this presentation if anybody wants it. And then, and that's it. And then of course, you can share it to others in your organization by putting their name or email address. So I guess we can pause here for questions. How much time do we have left, Jen?
You've got about 20 minutes.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah, quick question. I'm kind of lost. Like, how did you bring in the image? Can you walk me through it? Or
which one? The bring in the last one, the screen scraping?
Art, like the insulin.
Oh, the chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we bring this image? Okay, sure, I'd be glad to show you. Let me go to Power BI. So, okay. So here in Power BI, this table right here. So let's just recreate it. Let's start right here. I say I want a table. All right. What do I want in that table? I want food. I want the image. Now it brought the image and you say, well, no, I had to tell it that it was an image. So right here under the data, right here, column tools data, it first came in as text, I believe, uncategorized. So uncategorized, it looks like this. Right? It doesn't know it's an image. It's just, the information, the text. See, text. But if I tell it that it's an image URL, then it makes an image. Did I answer your question? The same here for
Yeah,
this,
thank
same here for the source. The source came here as a web URL. I mean, I don't want people seeing that. I want them to see this. So you have to go over here to this area, format your visual, and underneath the URL icon, turn it on. And that way you'll get your icon. So both things were here, and I had to tell it was a web URL, and I had to say the other one was an image URL. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Hi, Valerie. There's a question. Instead of publishing to the web, can you publish to SharePoint for coworkers to view the Power BI report?
Yes. So what happens is, let me go back to, goodness. Is this it? So you can embed a SharePoint online, and then you give them this URL here. Whoever's making the SharePoint list. Now, again, they might have to have a Power BI license internally. To my knowledge, the only way not to have a license is publish to web. But again, you're going to need a security exception to make sure I can publish this to web. This is open data. So, I can put it in the chat and put it out there. Did that answer your question? You'll know if you have the right to publish to web when you go to file. If it doesn't say publish to web, that means it's been turned off for you. So if you're in the state, you can ask for security exception if you need it.
Okay, there's a new question. Can Power BI show statistics like box plots with a significance or time series? I have been using R to calculate results and displaying it on Shiny app since AGOL dashboard does not have that kind of statistics.
You will likely have to, and I haven't done that, okay, to answer your questions, but you do have, your R script visuals here. You can go out and let's say we can import a visual, get more visuals. And I'm not quite sure if I heard which one. I think he said time. What?
Yeah,
Something with time.
time series.
I'm not sure.
Time series.
Time series, yeah. I would say I'm not quite familiar with what you're looking for, but there are a lot of visuals out here that you can go look and maybe let us know if you found it. So if it's not inherent in Power BI, there's probably a visual. It may be a visual for it. And if it's too complicated, then, I'm not sure. Not that Power BI can't handle complication, but I'm just saying that the standard Power BI probably doesn't do it. You may need a custom visual for statistics and things of that nature.
I'm not sure if you answered this question, but because you spoke about licensing, someone asked, can you elaborate costs on licensing? I heard there is no cost to get desktop software to design the dashboard. Is that correct? Does DIT host a server like they do for Tableau server?
Right. Now, I hate to answer that incorrectly because the real answer is I don't know. I just know it doesn't cost. When we want a license, we just put in a service ticket and ask for a license. And I think we have so many that there may not be a cost to it for employees, but I don't know that. Maybe put in a service ticket and see if you can get it. That's the only thing I can tell you because I don't really do the licensing. I just know that the part you see me authoring with, you can go on the internet and look for Power BI, download it. If you have admin permissions, you can author all day long. But when you want to publish, you can publish to your workspace and share it to your workspace, or you can publish it to other workspaces that you have access to for others to take a look. But how much it costs, for example, I have all these different workspaces, but you always have your own workspace. So if I publish to my own workspace, I can go out there and share it with anyone else that has a Power BI license. Now, I do believe they can look at it, and I hate to say it, maybe 60 days for free, and then they might have to get a license. But to my knowledge, the license doesn't cost, but I could be wrong. At the state. I mean, it does cost, but at the state.
Yeah, I can help answer that question. I just did research for DSOF. We have July 1, DHHS has an open contract with Microsoft for everyone to get it for free, but it's not available until July 1. So right now, Power BI licenses are project specific only and do have a cost. So my recommendation is that this is what I understand. I've done a ton of research because I'm trying to get it sooner than July 1.
Thank you.
But this is what I've understood from DIT, and I did put in a ticket. And someone also asked about the Tableau server support. And what I also understand from Angela Wong from the Tableau team is that they are going to be transitioning from Tableau to also being experts in Power BI to help support all things Power BI come July 1. So more to come on that because we don't really know what it looks like, but that's what I understood is happening. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
We've got a couple more questions. The first one is, can you walk us through an example of linking to an internal data source such as NC-FAST?
Okay, NC-FAST. So do you have a link to let me cancel this. What's the source of NC-FAST? I mean, NC-FAST, is that Oracle? Is that SQL?
They shared a link in
I
the
don't know.
chat.
NC-FAST is Curran.
Okay, spell that for me. I don't know what that is. Sorry.
It's Oracle.
It's Oracle
database.
Okay.
But you would have to have access. It's not public. You would have to have an account to access the data.
Okay. So it says my recommended provider is not installed.
Okay, and then another
But
question.
then you have to do your server. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Would I be able to extract data from our program used to track registration info? We access this program database via a web link, and we have to sign in to use this.
Likely, yes, if you have to sign in, because a lot of our data sources, like all those SharePoint Online ones that we do, we have to sign in for those. So likely, if you have most data sources, it's protected in some way, be it on SharePoint or on your company in your company system. So yes, when it'll ask you, let me try to link to let me get a data source. While this is coming up, let's see.
And someone asked, are there any other ways for my coworkers to view reports without license other than publishing to the web?
The way I would not recommend this, but the only other way is since this, let me get this data here. So for example, let me just show you this data source here. It's a protected data source, and I have to use my organization account to sign in and to get to it. So yes, once you link to then you can sign in and link to it. So yes. Now, the other one about, what was the last one? Sorry, I dropped it. What was the last one you said, Jan?
Are there any other ways for my coworkers to view reports without license other than publishing to the web?
Oh, yes. So I wouldn't recommend this, but you see, like, for example, this environment here, this is free, the authoring environment, and it's a PBIX file. I mean, you could, for example, we have, I probably wouldn't. If you had a shared drive, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, like a drive P or something, you can put it out on a shared drive and let others just kind of open it up as long as they have Power BI. But that's not recommended because they can go in here and change it. It's an author environment. So that's why you have publishing. You only want to give it to others. You want to put it in a shared location if multiple people are working on it. But when others need to see it, you need to publish it and either have a license, a temporary license, or publish the web. That's my only knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, and someone asked, oh, by the way, we have about 9 minutes left. Will a recording of this session be available? I'm pretty sure we're recording this right now, and the link
Yes.
should be available after the meeting is completed. And then someone says, I don't have an option to publish to web. How do you get that option?
So you have to make put in a service ticket and just a security exception and tell them what you're trying to do. And I think that's Rod Parrish. Shouldn't put his name out there like that. That would grant that.
Okay, and Johnny Jones says for internal employees without a license, publish to the web, get embed link, and add to a SharePoint page. I guess that was in answering the previous question.
Okay. Well,
And
to my
someone says,
knowledge, so you're saying on the SharePoint page, they don't need a license? They don't need any type of Power BI license to look at it in SharePoint?
That seems to be. And someone
Good.
asked, can you
Good
give a
news.
quick overview of creating a new one from scratch? Very quick. We have
Sure.
8 minutes.
Sure. So I guess we could use one of the data sources we have. Let's see. So if I wanted to just go to a new page and let's just build something, I guess. Let's see. Maybe you want to give me any ideas? Let's see. Let's just do a pie chart, I suppose. And we're going to look at the this is the, and let's see. Actually, this is not the data. I want to use the violations table. That was a quick, I mean, of course, you want to do some things like changing your headings and things of that nature. But and remember, you say how I changed my colors. You could change your colors here for this. So that's a chart for that. What else could we do? I had to, for the map, let's see, full address. Let's see if we can throw a map down here. But see, on the map, let's look at full address. The map, I took a couple fields and added together so you can create your own fields. I created something called full address, and I took the address 1, city, state, zip, and added USA so I don't get all over the world. And then you can plop that here. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but that's 2 of the visuals that we did really quick. So you basically say, you know what? No, I really don't want to see it like that. I'd rather see it like that. No, maybe this looks better. You can just keep, changing it around until you get what you want. You have to make it make sense, of course. But this is how easy it is to bounce between visuals. But this makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if
For
you
the
want to
last
bring in
5
a data
minutes.
source.
Oh,
okay,
sorry. I was going to
Okay.
say, one of the early questions was, as someone who has 0 experience with Power BI, do you have any recommendations on how to get started? For example, do you have some suggested tutorial resources? I had linked in the LinkedIn Learning and Udemy. Do you have any other suggestions?
Well, Google is your friend, all right? But in Power BI, under help, they do have some guided learning. And also under help is training. It has training videos. So that might be a good place to start.
I did mention, if anybody didn't see it, LinkedIn Learning and Udemy, I believe, is available to most DIT employees, if not all, maybe. I mean, I could be wrong, might want to check.
That's my
If
thought,
you do not,
but yeah.
yeah, if you do not currently have access to one or either of these or both, whatever, you can request access by submitting a ticket in ServiceNow. The name of the ticket is NCDIT HR LMS Learning and Development Request, and it's quite easy to request it, and I highly recommend it.
Thank you. There's so many open data sources. I mean, I didn't do this one, but there's a crime, you can get crime in and everywhere, but crime in Wake County, where types of the crimes against people, society, property. I mean, just go out and get an open data source and play with it. Any other questions? Great. Well, if not, thank you very much. It's been fun.